You know, Steve Borthwick gets labelled as a lot of things, as rugby fans will do against coaches across the world, but you've got to give him credit where credit's due. They made the right decision in taking a younger team down to Argentina, just like the French did to New Zealand. Remember that one? And everybody was crying poor on that. Well, the English did a good job in going to Argentina and have come back now, and they've got a lot of depth in that squad. My name is Mark, and this is Inside Rugby with Mark. If you haven't been here before, I'm a Kiwi rugby fan. I live in Cancun in Mexico, and I love talking about rugby in my favourite park here. So in this video, I'm going to talk about England and South Africa, or England in general really, but we'll put the Springboks in there as well, because a lot of Springboks fans, they love the English, don't they? I just had to say that, but let's go and talk about it, because there's some good things going on in England rugby and we have to acknowledge it as a rugby fan, and we've got to talk about what could possibly happen. So let's go and do that. So listen, I watched the games in the weekend like everybody else did, and I took particular interest in England because I wasn't too sure what was going to happen with Steve Borthwick rolling out this team. I watched the games in Argentina. I was pretty impressed with the depth that's being built in this England squad. And after what I saw against Australia, I'm starting to form an opinion. So I'm going to share it with you right here on the show. So when it comes to the performance against Australia yesterday, I thought there were a couple of standout things for England. But first of all, let's talk about Australia in that particular contest. Australia are really missing their superstars, and when I talk about their superstars, I'm talking about Tom Wright at fullback, I'm talking about Len Ekitau at number 12, I'm talking about Tate McDermott, their number 9, I'm talking about Will Skelton in the locking position, and I'm talking about Tom Hooper as well right now. There's too many key players out of this Australian team at the moment, and they've had a long season, and it's starting to show. They're starting to get tired. They're starting to lose their strategic intent a little bit on the field, and I thought they were terrible against England in the weekend. Tane Edmed at number 10, I thought, had a poor game. He made some poor decisions, and it was basically wrapped up in that kick he did just before half-time that he was super lucky to get away with, where England could have nearly scored a try from. But put that aside, we've got to look at England and give them the amount of credit that they're due as well. First of all, in that game, I thought it was a really good plan by Steve Borthwick to go with a 6-2 split, because he's got some really good forwards going around at the moment, and to have them come on in that second half and do what they did against Australia was a very good show of their intent. And there's no doubt about it that Steve Borthwick is preparing this team, this English team, to be able to take on and beat the South African Springboks, and he's trying to develop a forward pack that can compete with them first up. Well, is that plan going to work? And we've still got 2 years to go until the Rugby World Cup. So what's my opinion around that? Well, what's lacking for me, and I didn't see it in the game against Australia yesterday, and I'm going to keep my eye on the games against Fiji and New Zealand in particular that England are going to play next up in their autumn international, because I want to see what their backline can do. And I think this is where the big difference is now between South Africa and England at the moment. I didn't see a lot of good coordinated running play yesterday from the English. They went to the high ball all the time just about throughout that game against Australia, and they dominated, let's face it, in the high ball contest. But they didn't give themselves an opportunity to play some open running rugby. And of course, this is where South Africa, with Tony Brown coming on board, working with Rassie and the rest of the coaching crew, have really moved South Africa on since the last Rugby World Cup. They're a team now that can take you on and beat you in the forwards, but they're also a team that can take you on and beat you in the backs. So it's not going to be good enough for Steve Borthwick, in my opinion, just to put out a bunch of great forwards that can go for 80 minutes against the Springboks when they do come up against them. And it's really unfortunate we're not going to see that encounter this year, because it would have been good to see where those two teams are at when we're still 2 years away from the Rugby World Cup. So in my opinion, Steve Borthwick's got to be a little bit careful with the evolution of this team. Too much emphasis on the forward play might distract from what they're doing in the backline, and I think we need to see more of it. George Ford had an okay game yesterday. He missed a lot of kicks at goal. That could have put the scoreboard out even further for the English team, and I didn't see too much intent at all in terms of running the ball. Yes, it was wet, it was slippery, it was difficult, so I give them that one. So against Fiji and against New Zealand in particular, I'm going to want to see what England can do. Or are they just going to rely on that high ball peppering of the opposition? That's one thing that I'm looking for in the next couple of games from England. But they have improved. They have got better since the last Rugby World Cup. Their depth is there now. The talent is coming through. A lot of good young players. Guy Pepper, I thought, had a great debut yesterday against the Wallabies. And of course, Henry Pollock coming on, making a big difference off the bench as well. You know, if you're England and you've got that talent out wide and Faye Waboso and Tommy Freeman and Roebuck and even Stewart at fullback, if you've got that kind of talent in your backline, why not use it? Why not bring those guys into play more and give them an opportunity to take on their opposition? Whenever we saw Faye Waboso go for the Wallabies yesterday, he really made a difference and got over the gain line at least. We never saw any real clean breaks from him or tries, but we did see him really giving the Australian defence something to think about, and that's what this backline from England needs to do. And that's what the Springboks have been able to do with their newly created backline and the way that they're playing. You know, the South Africans have been able to develop that expansive game by bringing in Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu to 10. We saw Damien Willemser at 12 against the All Blacks in Wellington. And then outside wider, we've seen Ethan Hooker, Kurtley Ardenser playing fantastic. And we even saw Colby at fullback against the Japanese. So the South Africans are bringing that diversification in their backline, and I want to see what England do in the next 12 to 18 months to be able to match that. You know, there's no doubt about it that Borthwick's got his eye on the Springboks and he's trying to come up with a solution or solutions that are going to be able to beat them. And I'm just being cautious here and saying that I think the overplay of the forwards, that would be a mistake. They've got to be able to compete in the back line as well. You know, I give England a lot of top marks for their performance against Australia yesterday. The reason I say that is because, first of all, yes, Australia weren't playing good rugby. They were strategically poor yesterday and they were missing some of their stars. But on the other side, it was England's first game together this season at the back of the season, and I'm going to be really interested to see how they kick on from now. So I expect them to go up a gear against Fiji. That's going to be a brutal battle, as it always is in that encounter against Fiji. And then they've got the All Blacks, which will be one game that Steve Borthwick is really targeting in the Autumn International Series. So it's going to be really fascinating to see what they do. I'm going to come back at the end of the Autumn International Series, as I will after every English game, and talk about this evolution, because I'm really looking at it as a matchup against the Springboks to see what they can do. Maro Itoje, I thought, played outstanding yesterday. He's as good as ever in that locking position, but I don't know whether Ollie Chisholm is the answer there for the English, but we'll have to wait and see. At the back, Ben Earl had a great game, I thought, scoring that tremendous try against the Wallabies, and he's dangerous, isn't he, when he's in that breakdown mode, as is Sam Underhill. And as I said before, I thought Guy Pepper had a great debut for the English. He's going to be a really, really good player going forward. But the Wallabies front row did put it up against the English on occasions yesterday, even though I don't think it's the best Wallabies front row. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the next game and how they tackle the Fijians, who of course will try to be disruptive in that scrum, but I expect England to try and get some kind of domination over them. So it's really in the backs that I think I want to watch England more specifically, because I think their forwards are going to be very good this year. But what have they got to give in the back line? A couple of times yesterday when they did try to run the ball, they kind of ended up running around themselves a little bit and they weren't very comprehensive. And I'm saying that as an All Black supporter after watching that terrible performance in the first 60 minutes of that game against Ireland. You know, Steve Borthwick gets labelled as a lot of things, as rugby fans will do against coaches across the world, but you've got to give him credit where credit's due. They made the right decision in taking a younger team down to Argentina, just like the French did to New Zealand. Remember that one? And everybody was crying poor on that. Well, the English did a good job in going to Argentina and have come back now, and they've got a lot of depth in that squad. I thought Alex Mitchell played really well yesterday. A lot of high balls from him, causing a lot of problems for the Wallabies, and I think this is going to be a go-to play that we see for England throughout the Autumn International Series. It may not be attractive to some rugby fans, but it is a great way of getting territory and getting down and putting pressure on the opposition, and England are very good at doing it, let's face it. So it's a bit like saying to South Africa, well, you've got a great bunch of forwards, but don't use them. Go and do something else because it doesn't look attractive. We've heard that story before, haven't we? So England have got to play to their strength just like everybody else, and I think we're going to see more of that high ball, contestable, particularly against Fiji. I think it's going to work well against Fiji, and let's see whether or not they bring that as their A game against the All Blacks, which is going to be fascinating to see in a few weeks' time. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with what I saw from England yesterday as their first game of the Autumn International Series, and I'm going to be watching them closely as we go through the rest of the year. So let me know in the comments what you thought of the English performance against the Wallabies yesterday. Do you agree with me that the Wallabies have gone off that peak that we saw them against South Africa and against Argentina earlier in the year? They're missing those key players. Or do you think there's something else going on in Joe Schmidt's camp at the moment with the Wallabies? I'd like to know your views in the comments. But let's focus on talking about England. Are they as good as South Africa at the moment? No, and the reason is because of that backline, and that's the thing that I want to really see them improve over the next 12 to 18 months. Hey, if you haven't already heard, we've started a new YouTube channel. It's for United Rugby fans, of course. It's our new podcast. Get over there and check out the episodes we're putting up. I'm going to be doing a few more interviews this week, but it's not just going to be an interview show, this podcast. It's going to be content from you, for you. So we're going to have people all over the world creating content from rugby fans, and we're going to post it on that YouTube channel. So if you like my content here, go and subscribe to the new channel. I'll put the URL on the screen here. It's United Rugby Fans. It's easy to remember. Get over there, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, watch them, tell us what you think. And if you want to be on the show, come over and tell us. We'd love to talk to rugby fans all across the world. We want to hear about what's going on in rugby in your country. What are the issues? What are the things that we need to fix? Or just tell us your rugby stories. How did you get into the game? Why do you love it so much? Who's your favourite player? All that sort of stuff. We want to put out that content on our new channel, United Rugby Fans. Okay, that's it. I'm losing my voice, so I better go. I've got lots more talking to do this week. I'll see you again soon here on Inside Rugby with Mark. Thanks for watching the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and make a comment. It all helps with that YouTube algorithm. I'll see you again soon. It's time to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Bye for now, everyone.